it's easy to understand why, as a society, we kind of rush to comfort and support women who've gone through a miscarriage because they have such a different physical relationship with the person who's growing inside of them, right? But you've said that, you see that, well, I'm just going to quote this, that dad's experiences of loss and grief are often overlooked, undermined, and outright invalidated. I'm interested in outright invalidated. Like, can you give me some examples of how a father's experience of grief during a miscarriage can be just invalidated?
So after that first miscarriage, my wife needed to get a DNC procedure. And we went to the clinic to get that done. And I'm in the room with her, and it's a really tiny room. She's sitting on the chair, and I'm sitting at on a stool at the angle, at an opposite angle from where she's at. But again, the room is so small that I could just reach my hand over and put it on her lap or put on her leg or something. I now have a sense of how devastating this is to her. And because it hurts her, it's hurting me too, right? And so we're in this room. And so one of the physicians comes in, and then he comes in and he sits. He positions himself and sits right in front of my wife. And his back is to me the entire time. When he first walks in, he asked my wife, who I am in relation to her. And she said, "That's my husband." So when he sits and he gives me his back, at no point during the, 5 minutes or so that he was talking to her, did he ever turn around to acknowledge, to look at me, to even pretend that I was in the room. And he finished talking to the patient, rightfully so, and he gets up and he walks out. To him, I didn't exist. If he didn't acknowledge my presence there, that means that he doesn't think that I have any connection to what's going on here. If he didn't acknowledge my presence, that means that somewhere in the back of his mind, he's probably like, here's the person who's really, suffering from this. This guy, he'll be all right. He's a man. We're men, for crying out loud. We're men. So we'll get over it.
Whether it's going through a traumatic experience like a miscarriage, or even just becoming a new parent, in a time of real vulnerability, when the idea that it's taking away anything from your partner, who clearly is having her own experience, which in certain ways is going to be different, unique, maybe more intense in some ways than your experience. We're celebrating fatherhood, but at the same time not devaluing or trying to take attention away from the important role that the mother plays in this whole amazing, beautiful thing.
100%.
So it's tricky to walk that fine line, and I would imagine it becomes even more challenging when you're talking about going through something like the grief of a miscarriage.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I think where this whole conversation derails, which happens to be, in my opinion, where the conversation begins, or at least the paradigm that frames the conversation, is that if the father says that he is also in need of the same things that are available for the mom, how could he need those things? His body was not the one who carried life in it, right? So he didn't have that physiological connection to this life. So to say that as a father, as a man, I also have not physical, but an emotional connection to my child. And then because of that law saying, hey, I am in need of support too, it's almost like saying, well, your experience is not the same as hers, so why would you need that support? And I think that's where the whole thing just falls apart. It's not because he is inherently devaluing, demoting, dismissing the experience of his wife. He's just saying it is amazing that she gets the support that she gets. I also am in need of said support. And I think if we were honest as a society or as a health system about really supporting women, it's such a big miss that the man who she's going to go home with is so under-equipped that he is now going to become not an asset, but most likely a liability to her recovery, right? And to her support. So why not support him as well? And I think that's just one of the biggest misses in the way that this whole thing is thought about and framed.
Hey friends, nice to see you here. While you're here, why don't you hit the like button, click subscribe, maybe ring the notifications bell, all the YouTube stuff. Oh, and if you're into podcasts, you should check out Modern Dadhood on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, all of the fun places that do the podcasting thing. If you're into it, you're into it.